Hi guys, I'm back. Danica Sheridan here. We're going to pick back up with Emzara's Blood. I'm going to read chapters 5 through 8. If you missed the first 4 chapters, you'll have to go look for that video first. So here we go. Chapter 5. Adat, Seti, and Nael. I am extremely grateful for that cleansing of the earth happened after I became a mother. I am extremely grateful that this happened after my 3 sons all took wives. It would have been an excruciating experience to be on the ship alone, just Noah and I. We were too old to have continued the human race. It would have ended with us. Just the animals forevermore. I was so happy to have these 3 amazing women with me there on the vessel. They made my life better in so many ways. I endured centuries of a childless, barren womb. I was blessed late in life at the age of 500, and we welcomed our 3 boys in rapid succession. Those women helped expand our family and continued to grow the human race in the new world. I have always been an avid animal lover, so it was my job to care for all of the animals on board the Ark. I helped the animals with cleanup and creating and enforcing a feeding schedule. Adat, Japheth's wife, helped me with the animals and their care. She is very artistic. She would sketch all of the animals. She helped me study and record their habits. She also likes to decorate by making crafts and painting intricate designs on things such as pottery. She is a great seamstress and can sew elaborate tapestries and brightly colored clothes. We rescued Adat when she was just a child from a town that was burning. Her family had all perished. She grew up with our boys as a surrogate daughter. She used to help Japheth in the fields with his farming responsibilities. The 2 became increasingly close over the years until they eventually became husband and wife. Seti used to live in a remote forest village among people who worshipped false gods and practiced the despicable ritual of child sacrifice once each harvest season. A newborn child in her family had just been selected as tribute to the gods. She couldn't bear to stay and watch, and she wandered into town. Noah just happened to be speaking to the townspeople about the one true creator God and how he had instructed him to build an ark to save the animals from man's sin. She refused to return to her people and followed Noah back to the ark. She became Shem's intellectual counterpart. They would have profound discussions about God and how the world was in the beginning of time before wickedness took over the lands. It was evident that they were going to become husband and wife. Nael, the most delicate bronze-skinned beauty, grew up just down the path from the Ark build site. She trusted in the Creator her whole life. She learned the art of medicine from her mother and father. She uses her skills to treat the sick or the wounded, both human and animal. Her parents had left her alone to go on a medical mission to help heal the sick and wounded in a distant, war-torn land. Ham got in a brutal tangle with a saber-toothed tiger, and it was Nael that nursed him back to health. Her love for him was apparent as she continued to care for him. They were married shortly after his recovery was complete. We had a small window hatch above our sleeping compartments, and we kept watching, looking for anything, any sign. The winds were ever increasing and continued to blow across the surface of the waters. And as predicted by my unwavering husband, the boat was getting lower and lower, or the sun was getting higher and higher. Chapter 6. The Watchers. As the winds continued to blow and gently rock the boat, I was forced to sit there and contemplate how we had gotten to this point. Why was there a need for the whole of the earth to be drowned? 2 words. The Watchers. Lucifer and the rebel angels that had been kicked out of glory were constantly roaming the earth, going back and forth, west to east, looking for victims to trick, looking to create their own throne room. They wanted to be equal to Creator God. They made the women of earth look very appealing and desirable to the watcher angels of heaven, just as they had done with Eve and the serpent in the garden. Eventually, about 200 of these angels decided to leave glory and come to earth to mate with the women. It was an act of pure lust and sexual desire. It was an evil act that further separated both the angels and the human race from God. It was the dual fall from grace that started a long, separate journey for both human and angel. The sexual desires of these watchers gave rise to an abhorrent offspring. The children born to earthly women were giants. The Nephilim, men of legend, men of folklore, half angel, half human, demigods, men of Herculean size and strength. The giants grew to upwards of 12 feet tall, with 6 fingers on each hand, blindingly white features. They were a force to be reckoned with. The Nephilim were the offspring of angels, and they possessed the knowledge of the universe. They knew the secrets that the human race were never supposed to know. They taught the forbidden arts of alchemy, astrology, science, cosmetology, how to read the signs of the zodiac and the stars, the course of the moon. They taught about horoscopes, incantations, how to speak to the dead, hypnotism, sorcery, mediums, and palm reading. Doesn't it just prove that there is a creator if everyone's entire life story is printed on each individual palm? That's incredible. There were 22 chief leaders of this fallen angel army: Akabil, Amazarach, Anain, Araziel, Armors, Azael, Azaradel, Azaziel, Azkiel, Barkayael, Batrael, Denel, Artael, Ramuel, Samsavil, Samyaza, Sarakinyal, Turl, Tamiel, Urakabaramel, Yamiel, and Zavibi. It was in the time of Jared, Noah's great-grandfather, that these angels took over our world. It didn't take long for them to turn every heart evil. They stopped loving our Creator and started worshiping Lucifer, the Satan, the adversary, the anti-everything good. God immediately sent forth an army of archangels, and they captured 90% of all of the fallen watchers. They were thrown into a prison of darkness and covered with heavy, jagged rocks. And the angels who did not keep their positions of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling, these will be kept in darkness, bound with everlasting chains for judgment on the great day. Jude 6. The other 10% were left to roam the earth and torment the human race. All sin is punishable, even sins of angels. God spoke to the watchers, saying, You were formerly spiritual, living the eternal life and immortal for all generations of the world. And therefore I have not appointed wives for you. For as for the spiritual ones of the heaven, in heaven is their dwelling. And now the giants, who are produced from the spirits and flesh, will be called evil spirits upon the earth, demons. And the earth will be their dwelling place forever, even in death. You have been in heaven, but all the mysteries had not yet been revealed to you, and you knew worthless ones, and these, in the hardness of your hearts, you have made known to the women, and through these mysteries women and men work much evil on earth. The spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, do battle, and work destruction on the earth, and cause nothing but trouble. You have no peace. In that exact moment, the winds stretched out the vaults of heaven and placed their station between heaven and earth. These are the pillars of the heaven. This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come out at their appointed times. These hollow places have been created for this very purpose, that the spirits of the souls of the dead should assemble here, and these places have been made to receive them until the day of their judgment. At the end of days, when the great battle rages, and I, the Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end, will defeat all the forces of darkness and will own the keys of death and hell. Chapter 7. Dry ground. After 150 long days, on the 17th day of the 7th month of Noah's 600th year, we crashed into the top of Mount Ararat with a large shudder felt throughout the entire ark. The tops of the mountains were visible once more. The springs of the deep and the floodgates of the heavens had been closed, and the rain had stopped falling. But the winds continued to blow, and the waters continued to recede. In the 11th month, Noah opened up the window hatch and released a raven. The raven flew around aimlessly in circles, looking for anywhere to perch. There was nothing suitable. Eventually, the raven returned to the ark. 7 days later, we tried again. Noah opened up the window hatch and released a dove. The dove flew around and eventually returned to the ark with a small bud from an olive branch in its beak. It was obvious to us that new life and new nature was blooming once again. We all celebrated that night. 7 days later, we tried once more. Noah opened up the window hatch and released the dove again. We waited and waited and waited. The dove never returned. It was our sign that the earth was dry and vegetation was plentiful. We were safe to exit the ark after 371 long days of calamity. On the 27th day of the 2nd month following Noah's 601st year, God spoke. "Come out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it." Then God unsealed the door, and Noah, Japheth, Shem, and Ham proceeded down the ramp and onto dry land. We had a long trek down the mountainside to level ground below. From the top of the mountain, we could see a vastly different landscape. We cautiously let the animals down the mountainside. If anyone slipped, we were there to help them up. It took many tedious hours to get down to flat land at the base of Ararat. Once the last foot, hoof, and paw had crossed off the rocky terrain onto the soft padded grass, God spoke again. "Never forget that I have devised and created from the uppermost foundation to the lower and to the end, and there is no counselor nor inheritor to my creations. I am self-eternal, not made with hands and without change. My thought is my counselor, my wisdom and my word are made, and my eyes observe all things, how they stand here and tremble with fear. If I turn away my face, then all things will be destroyed. Tell all generations all that I have told you and all that you have seen, for I created all forces, and there is none that resisteth me or that does not subject himself to me. For all subject themselves to my monarchy and labor for my sole rule. I knew before creating humankind that their nature would sin against me. I have already constructed a way to establish a bridge over sin, a way to redemption. For I am the God of all galaxies and all universes, and nothing transpires without my knowledge and consent. I could have easily created a perfect, permanent paradise, but I wanted to be loved in return, and so I bestowed free will upon the human race, knowing full well that they would create a chasm with their sinful ways. Thus I have cleansed the entire planet of sin, and now I make a covenant with you, Noah. Never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood, and never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease." Noah and I both fell with our faces to the ground. Our family followed suit. We praised the Lord right there with all the animals in their kind. We sang and we rejoiced for hours for our salvation now and in the coming times. The sky lit up with beautiful shimmering colors never seen before. It was a seal to commit our covenant to law. Then God blessed Noah, Japheth, Shem, and Ham. "Be fruitful and increase in number and fill the earth. The fear and dread of you will fall on all the beasts of the earth and all the birds in the sky, on every creature that moves along the ground, and on all the fish in the sea. They are given into your hands. Everything that lives and moves about will be food for you. Just as I gave you the green plants, I now give you everything." The animals' voices were once again sealed, and they could only utter mutterings and sounds known only to their kind. And in a great thundering stampede, the animals dispersed throughout the lands. Chapter 8. The Ice Age. Starting over was hard. The air was full of water vapor and ash. It was getting colder every day. We had to make our shelter closer to the shoreline, where the ocean seemed to be warmer than before and kept the air outside bearable. The more north you traveled, the more ice and snow that you encountered. It was estimated that over 30% of all the land was completely covered in ice and snow. We had to rebuild from scratch. We had no shelter, no gardens or farms. It was a hard, tedious beginning, and it kept getting colder and colder, making life even harder. Adat made garments of fur for us all to wear to keep warm. The dinosaurs seemed to disappear over time, frozen in the northern areas or killed by our descendants for food, as food was scarce and hard to come by. Noah lived until his 951st year. By the time he passed on to the heavenly realms, the weather was again warming and the age of ice appeared to be ceasing. Out of the south comes the storm, and out of the north comes the cold. From the breath of God, ice is made, and the expanse of the water is frozen. From whose womb comes the ice? Who gives birth to the frost from the heavens, when the waters become hard as stone, when the surface of the deep is frozen? Job 37, 9 and 10, and Job 38, 29 and 30. Japheth and Adat had 7 sons: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, and Tyrus. Gomer had 3 sons: Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. Javan had 4 sons: Elisha, Tarshish, Kittite, and Rodonite. From these sons, the maritime tribes and nations spread out into their territories. Shem and Seti had 5 sons: Elam, Asher, Aphaxad, Lud, and Aram. Aram had 4 sons: Uz, Hul, Gether, and Meshech. Arphaxad was the father of Shelah. Shelah was the father of Eber. Eber was the father of Joktan and Peleg. It was in the time of Peleg that the earth was divided, and the new continent of Pangaea drifted further and further apart to its new resting place. That is to say, after the fall of Babylon. One of Shem's descendants is Abraham, the blessed father of God's chosen people, the pure human bloodline of Jesus himself. Ham and Nael had 3 sons: Cush, Egypt, and Put. Cush had 6 sons: Sheba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, Sabteka, and Nimrod. Nimrod became a mighty warrior on earth, like a giant. His kingdom was in the great Babylon, and also Nineveh, and also he is Gilgamesh. Egypt fathered 7 nations: Ludite, Anamite, Laabite, Naphtuhite, Parthrusite, Cashluhite, and Caphtorite. Shem's first son, Canaan, fathered 11 nations: Sidon, Hittite, Jebusite, Amorite, Girgashite, Hivite, Arkite, Sinite, Arvadite, Gemorite, and Hamathite. The Canaanite clans scattered, and the borders of Canaan reached from Sidon toward Gerar as far as Gaza, and then towards Sodom, Gomorrah, Admah, and Zeboim as far as Lasha. Before Noah passed from this realm to the heavenly realm, another evil tragedy took place. Noah, a man known for working the soil, planted a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became extremely drunk. Ham, in all of his inherent wickedness, as an ancestor to Cain on my behalf, took me into my own tent and forced me to lay with him, uncovering his father's nakedness, committing incest as my husband lay passed out beside us. Through my screams, Noah slept. A man shall not take his father's wife, so that he does not uncover his father's nakedness. Deuteronomy 22:30. And a man who lies with the wife of his father has uncovered the nakedness of his father. Both of them shall certainly die. Their blood shall be upon them. Leviticus 20:11. When Noah awoke from his stupor and found out what our youngest son had done to us, he angrily proclaimed, "Cursed be Canaan! The lowest of slaves will he be to his brothers. Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. May Canaan be the slave of Shem. May God extend the territory of Japheth. May Japheth live in the tents of Shem, and may Canaan be his slave also." I later bore Ham a son. His given name was Canaan. Ham had returned to wickedness. Noah had been the last pure human bloodline left on earth, ancestor of Seth and Adam. I am a 7th generation ancestor of Cain. Cain was the offspring of Eve and the serpent, original sin in human form. His twin brother Abel, the offspring of Adam, was murdered by Cain before he was sent away to marry amongst the Neanderthal people. We are not to resemble Cain, who was a child of the evil one and killed his own brother. And why did he kill him? Because his own actions were wicked and his brother's actions righteous. 1 John 3:12. Cain said to the Lord, "I'll be a restless person who wanders around on the earth. Anyone who finds me will kill me." He settled in the land of Nod and took a wife from those people and was intimate with her. Genesis 4:14-17. Ham's descendants continued to fall away from Creator God and returned to the worship of false gods and child sacrifice. Canaan had become the father of the occult. The Nephilim bloodline had been rekindled. All right, come back a different day for chapter 9, 10, 11, and 12. Have a great day, guys.